Welcome to the Energy Safe Victoria Electrical Supervisors Safety Presentation. This presentation has been developed for supervisors and employers to provide you with tools to help your workers, in particular apprentices, to be aware of the dangers present in the electrical industry. Our aim is to educate you on how you keep your workers, in particular apprentices, safe at work. Safe work practices are essential. We want to make it absolutely clear that the employer and supervising electrician have responsibility to provide effective supervision to workers, in particular apprentices, to ensure that they work safely. A culture where apprentices and less experienced workers feel free to ask questions and raise concerns if they are unsure should be developed and encouraged. In a recent 12-month period, we have investigated 4 electrical worker fatalities in Victoria. 3 of those fatalities have been electrical apprentices. This photo shows an actual site where an electrical apprentice died. At the time of the fatality, the supervising electrician was in the process of live testing to try and identify why the lights weren't working. There is no good reason to test live in this circumstance. A continuity test could have been carried out with the circuit isolated to find the fault. Energy Safe Victoria wants to make sure this doesn't happen at your workplace. A first-year apprentice must be provided with constant supervision and specific guidance at all times. This is called direct supervision, and it means you must be readily available in the immediate work area and within audible range. Every job must be made safe to work on. The isolation point of the circuits or equipment that are to be worked on must be identified. The circuit or equipment must be isolated, tested, and then proven to be de-energised. If an apprentice is to work on a circuit, it is the supervising electrician's responsibility to ensure the circuit is correctly isolated and tested. If an apprentice isolates and tests the circuit themselves, they must do so under direct supervision. This applies to all apprentices, all the way through their apprenticeship, until such time as they hold their own electrical licence. These are skills that apprentices need to learn. This is vitally important for the preservation of life and prevention of injury. Encourage apprentices and other workers to seek guidance when they need to. Contact ESV if you need assistance, have questions, or want support. Employers and supervisors should encourage the industry basics for electrical workers working in our industry. Assume nothing, believe no one, check everything. Never assume a circuit or equipment is not live. Do not trust anyone who tells you something is not live. Check it yourself. Always use a voltage tester or multimeter to test and confirm the equipment you're working on is not live. An apprentice must be taught to do this under supervision. Any equipment containing electrical wiring can become live at any time if there is a fault or if someone has not done their job properly. Unexpected situations can occur when you least expect it. We test before we touch to find out if it's safe to work on the equipment. Apprentices must be taught these skills. Be aware of the limitations of proximity testers. Proximity testers can provide an indication that something is live, but must never be used to prove something is not live. This is a domestic water pump located on a farm. Moisture entered the electrical terminals of the pump motor, which caused the frame of the pump to be live at 246 volts. On investigation, it was found that the pump was plugged into a newly installed socket outlet. Testing proved there was no earth continuity from the socket outlet to the associated switchboard due to a broken earth wire in a nearby junction box. A person died when he touched this water pump. Don't let this be you. Always test before you touch. Another industry basic is the elimination of risks. We hear the saying, "don't work live," quite often in our industry. It is also very dangerous to be working near live parts, as the same risks apply. The most effective way of eliminating the risk is to remove supply. So the recommended action is to remove the service fuse. You can do this following the VESI code of practice, low voltage service fuse removal and reinsertion. This is available on the ESV website. If it is not possible to remove the service fuse due to the size or function of the installation, the recommended action is to isolate upstream from the switchboard or compartment you're working in. This electrician was working on a switchboard that contained live parts, and he did not isolate or take adequate precautions. 3 years after this incident, this electrician still does not have full use of his hand. This could happen to you or your workers if you don't work safely. These next few slides show details of a severe electrical incident that involved a young electrical worker. who was working in the electrical switchboard compartment shown here. The isolator was turned off in this compartment. However, terminals on one side of this isolator were still live. The electrician's pliers came into contact with live parts, causing a large electrical explosion to occur. The arc from the explosion was the cause of the severe burns to the electrical worker. The electrical worker, his supervisor, and the employer all failed to follow the basic procedure of isolating when working in the vicinity of live parts. This compartment could have been isolated upstream to eliminate the hazards of working near live parts. The reason given for not isolating further upstream was that this would have adversely affected production. This is never an excuse to work unsafely. The result of the incident was a much greater loss of production, the cost of replacing and repairing the switchboard compartment, and the devastating ongoing effects of this injury to the young man injured and his family. This video demonstrates what happens when a fault is applied to a switchboard. This explosion was performed under controlled conditions to demonstrate what can happen when the rules are not followed. When you don't follow the rules, you are at risk of electric shock, arc flash burns, or even death. So how do we make sure we are demonstrating safe work practices? After testing and isolating to make sure the circuits or equipment are safe, you must lock out and tag out. This is known as lotto. All apprentices carrying out lotto must do this under direct supervision. Every circuit you work on must be switched off or have the fuse cartridge removed. A lockout device must then be attached and padlocked with a completed danger tag attached. Never remove someone else's lock or tag, and always check with those around you before re-energising. There is an Australian standard which provides further guidance on making your work environment safe. It is Australian Standard AS/NZS 4836, Safe Work on or near low voltage electrical installations and equipment. We recommend you get yourself a copy or have your employer provide you with a copy and follow the guidance given in it. These next few slides depict a recent fatality. A 25-year-old electrical worker was repairing this air conditioner. After isolating and carrying out his repairs, he energised the air conditioner to check it was working properly. Once he confirmed the air conditioner was working, he did not isolate again before finishing internal electrical work and replacing the covers. So he continued working on this equipment while the electrical control panel was live. This electrical worker was killed when he made contact with live parts within the air conditioner control panel. Isolating the air conditioner unit would have prevented this young electrical worker's death. Remember to always lock out and tag out every circuit you work on every time. We must be teaching all workers how to work safely. Don't let this happen at your workplace. You should be aware that death from electric shock only takes a minor body contact with live parts. It does not take large explosions or major body contact to kill. The difference between a fatality and a minor electric shock can just be the path current takes through the body, the position your body is in, or the materials you may be in contact with. With many electrocutions, the injuries are quite innocuous. There are no second chances in many electrical contact scenarios. All cables must be treated as live, not just actives. This is a photo of a socket outlet installed in a roof space for a light. An electrical apprentice had turned off the light switch, but had not turned off or locked out the circuit at the switchboard. There was a broken neutral at the socket outlet. The broken neutral was live. The 22-year-old apprentice did not test before touching the neutral and was killed. We want to make it absolutely clear that the employer and supervising electrician have responsibility to provide effective supervision to workers, in particular apprentices, to ensure that they work safely. A culture where apprentices and less experienced workers feel free to ask questions and raise concerns if they are unsure should be developed and encouraged. Refer to ESV's Apprentice Supervision Guidelines. So, in summary, always ensure you are providing effective supervision and remember to test before you touch. Don't work on or near live parts. Make every circuit you need to work on safe by isolating it. After isolating, lock out and tag out to ensure no one turns on the supply while you're working on the circuit. Treat all cables as live, not just the actives. Everyone deserves to go home from work safely, every day. Remember the WorkSafe Victoria messages. The most important reason for making your workplace safe isn't at work at all. If you have any doubts, ask questions. Contact ESV if you need assistance, have questions, or want support. Energy Safe Victoria, ESV, is the technical and safety regulator responsible for electricity, gas, and pipeline safety in Victoria. We also license electricians and electrical inspectors, we register electrical contractors, and we issue and audit certificates of electrical safety. You can visit ESV's website for contact information, technical guidance, and up-to-date safety issues. Please find us and like us on Facebook. We often have important safety alerts and information on our Facebook page. If you have any questions, ESV's contact details are on the screen.